Now, shock news from Hollywood this morning as Nicole Kidman and husband Keith Urban are said to be splitting up after 19 years of marriage.
In Hollywood, every power couple is like a perfectly constructed building. From the outside, it looks strong, glamorous, and unbreakable. But over time, tiny hairline cracks can begin to form from the pressure. For 19 years, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's marriage looked like a fortress. But now, that fortress has crumbled. And Keith's own words reveal the sad truth about why.
My addictions that I'd done really nothing about blew our marriage to smithereens.
His confession isn't just an apology. It's the key to understanding the long, slow unraveling of a love story everyone thought would last forever. And it's a story you won't believe. The admission no one expected. You see, this wasn't totally out of the blue if you were paying close attention. The signs were there, hiding in plain sight. Many people are crazy about that 2024 AFI tribute, where Keith got teary-eyed, thanking Nicole for rescuing him during his personal struggles. At the time, everyone thought it was incredibly sweet. Now, after the split, it feels completely different. It sounds more like he was already admitting he'd leaned too much on her, and deep down, he knew their foundation was cracking. The thing nobody tells you is that a public thank you can sometimes be a private cry for help. What surprised people wasn't just what he said, but how he said it. There was no press release crafted by lawyers, no carefully worded social media post. It was just Keith, talking like a guy who couldn't hold it in anymore. He didn't try to spin the narrative or point fingers. For once, he wasn't hiding behind his guitar or his easygoing charm. He just owned the failure. And the timing? Well, that made it sting even more. By the time he spoke out, the divorce papers were already filed on September 30th. The media was a buzzing hornet's nest, with theories about missed red carpet appearances, awkward interviews, and even whispers of another woman. But Keith's confession cut through all that noise. It didn't confirm every rumor, but it made one thing crystal clear. Nicole wasn't the only one carrying the immense weight of their marriage. The public reaction was swift and divided. Some found his honesty refreshing, a rare moment of a celebrity taking full responsibility. Others rolled their eyes, claiming it was a classic case of too little, too late. And then there were the millions of fans who just felt sad. After all, if a couple that seemed so perfect, who had overcome so much, couldn't make it, what chance did anyone else have? For Nicole, it had to be a particularly bitter pill to swallow. Reports claimed she fought tooth and nail to keep their family together, protecting their two daughters, Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret, and standing by him through rehab and career slumps. Hearing him admit he blew it probably wasn't a shock to her, but it certainly made their private pain brutally public. At the end of the day, Keith's confession wasn't just about regret. It was about finally saying out loud what he'd probably known for a long, long time. But his words also opened the door to even more questions. More than just a rumor? Whenever a huge Hollywood couple calls it quits, you know what's coming next. The rumors. And in the case of Keith and Nicole, they didn't waste any time. Almost immediately, whispers started about a so-called other woman. Was there really someone else in the picture, or was this just the usual speculation filling in the blanks with juicy headlines? The truth, as it turns out, is a little more complicated. One name kept popping up over and over: Maggie Baugh, Keith's 25-year-old guitarist. She'd been performing with him on his latest tour, which spanned over 50 cities in North America alone. Fans started noticing little moments between them that felt, well, interesting. At one show, Keith even changed the lyrics in his hit song The Fighter and used her name instead. What many overlooked was that this wasn't a one-time slip. Videos of him pointing directly at her while singing love songs quickly made their way around TikTok, racking up millions of views. Suddenly, people were convinced their connection went way beyond just music. Of course, the internet ran with it. Memes, deep dive speculation threads, and so-called insider stories flooded social media. To make matters worse, Maggie's own dad tossed a bit of fuel on the fire with a cryptic comment that wasn't exactly a denial. And just like that, what could have been nothing more than harmless stage banter started to look like something much bigger. But not all things are what they seem. Here's the tricky part. Nobody has actually confirmed a thing. Neither Keith nor Maggie has said a single word to make the rumors official. And Nicole? Complete and total silence, which honestly just made people speculate even more. The thing nobody tells you is that the other woman doesn't always have to be a person. Sometimes it's a career or fame or demons that never fully go away. In Keith's case, his grueling tour schedule, the constant adoration from millions, and his well-documented struggles with addiction could all play that role. The life of a touring musician is incredibly demanding, often involving more than 200 days a year on the road, thousands of miles away from home. Whether the whispers were about a literal person or a symbolic one, they cracked open the glossy, picture-perfect image of a couple everyone thought had it all. This brings the timeline into sharper focus. Nicole officially filed for divorce on September 30th, citing irreconcilable differences. But insiders hinted the two had been living separate lives long before any paperwork was filed. According to those close to the couple, Keith had quietly moved into his own place, and to many around them, the split felt kind of inevitable. The rumors were just the final nail in the coffin. So, when did these cracks first start to show? Behind the red carpet smiles. When people talk about power couples in Hollywood, there's always a short list, and for nearly 2 decades, Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman were right at the top. They were the brand of couple that made people believe true love could survive the blinding glare of fame. But here's the thing about power couples. What looks shiny and perfect in public doesn't always line up with what's happening at home. With Keith and Nicole, those cracks didn't just appear out of nowhere. No, they crept in slowly, like tiny hairline fractures in glass that are hard to notice at first. But once you see them, you can't unsee them. A lot of it came down to their insane schedules. To put it mildly, they were living on different planets. Keith was basically living on a tour bus, bouncing from city to city, stage to stage. Meanwhile, Nicole was wrapped up in demanding film shoots, often on location for months at a time in places as far-flung as Australia and Europe. An average A-list movie shoot can last anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Add 2 daughters into that mix, and suddenly their perfect life looks more like 2 calendars locked in a constant battle. How do you build a stable home life when both of you are constantly somewhere else? Sure, they tried. There were reunions, grand romantic gestures, and those picture-perfect red carpet smiles that convinced everyone that everything was fine. But insiders later admitted those were more like quick fixes, band-aids slapped on much bigger problems. The real distance between them wasn't just measured in the thousands of miles that separated them. It was emotional. And fans, the ones who are crazy about them, started picking up on it. Nicole would show up solo to a few major events. Keith would be spotted at others without her. Their interviews, which used to be filled with gushy romantic quotes, suddenly felt a little flat. Then came the silence. And in Hollywood, silence can be louder than any press release. The constant mentions of each other vanished. The playful inside jokes in interviews stopped. There was just this quiet, awkward gap that became impossible to ignore. So when Keith finally confessed that he had blown the marriage, it wasn't some shocking plot twist. It was more like the final curtain call on a play everyone already knew was ending. The admission wasn't about confirming a rumor. It was about him admitting what people had already started piecing together. This relationship wasn't as unshakable as it once looked. The saddest part? Looking back, it all feels kind of inevitable. But how did this seemingly perfect love story even begin? When Keith met Nicole. Before the drama, the headlines, and the heartbreaking confession, there was the spark. And honestly, it was the kind of meet-cute Hollywood screenwriters dream of. Picture it. The year is 2005, at a gala in Los Angeles celebrating Australians in entertainment. Nicole Kidman, an Oscar winner and global superstar, was rebuilding her world after her very public split from Tom Cruise. Keith Urban, already a bona fide country star, was still that low-key Aussie guy with a guitar and a charming grin. They met, and sparks flew. But here's the kicker you won't believe. Nicole has admitted she was into him right away. But Keith, he pulled the classic wait 3 months to call move. You heard that right. He sat on Nicole Kidman's phone number for 90 days because he was too shy and convinced he was out of her league. When he finally did work up the nerve to call, things moved incredibly fast. Their first conversations weren't small talk. They were deep, hours-long chats. By the time they went public as a couple, everyone could sense this was the real deal. Fast forward to June of 2006, and boom, they're married in a stunning ceremony in Sydney, Australia. Nicole was breathtaking in her Balenciaga gown, and Keith sang to her. The world swooned. For years, they were Hollywood's favorite, look, it can work, couple. Nicole would gush about how Keith made her feel grounded and safe, while Keith publicly called Nicole his savior, crediting her with pulling him through his darkest struggles, including a battle with addiction that sent him to rehab just 4 months after their wedding. That's not just romance. That's a ride-or-die partnership. They built a family with their 2 daughters, Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret, and often described their home life as the calm in the middle of the chaotic storm of their careers. They were Exhibit A for love surviving fame, which is exactly why the end of their marriage feels so jarring now. Because let's be real, when you build your love story up to fairy tale levels, the ending, when it comes, always hits a little harder. The very foundation of their marriage was forged in crisis, with Nicole staging an intervention for Keith early on. This leads to one of the most shocking details of their entire relationship. And it was all written down in a legal document. The shocking agreement: money, sobriety, and the future. The story of Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban doesn't just end with divorce papers. It moves into a new, complicated chapter defined by their past. And the most shocking detail of all lies in their prenup. Back in 2006, the couple signed a marriage agreement with a highly unusual clause. Reports revealed that Keith would be entitled to $600,000 for every year of marriage he remained sober. Considering his well-documented struggles, it was both a financial safeguard for Nicole and a powerful incentive for Keith. And here's the kicker. Keith has reportedly been sober ever since he entered rehab just months after their wedding. Do the math. 19 years of marriage adds up to a staggering $11.4 million. To put it mildly, this wasn't just a standard prenup. It was a testament to how their marriage was built on both love and a desperate attempt at accountability. It was Nicole who staged the intervention that saved him, a moment he later credited with changing his life. Everything was just designed for that moment to fuse us together, he once said. So where does that leave them now? For Nicole, the path ahead is sharp and focused, her daughters. Friends describe her as fiercely determined, pouring every ounce of her energy into creating a stable, loving future for them. After years in the public eye, weathering scrutiny, judgment, and heartbreak, she seems to have found a new rhythm, one built not on headlines or gossip, but on family, resilience, and quiet strength. Her priorities have shifted, and everything she does now appears aimed at ensuring her children have a childhood filled with love, support, and stability, something she fought hard to preserve amid chaos. Keith's story, by contrast, comes with a very different backdrop: financially secure, still commanding stages with sold-out tours, and immersed in the industry he knows best. He is poised to transform personal turbulence into art. Heartbreak has long fueled some of the greatest country music ever written, and insiders hint that this chapter of his life will be no different. The personal struggles, the late-night battles with fame and expectations, and the very public unraveling of a once promising marriage are all threads he may weave into his next album. For Keith, the journey forward is as much about reflection as it is about creation. The irony is impossible to ignore. Their marriage began under the heavy shadow of intervention and ends with legal clauses revolving around sobriety. There are no perfect endings here, no fairy tales to soften the edges. Yet even in that imperfection, both Nicole and Keith are stepping into new chapters, different perhaps from what they imagined, but unmistakably shaped by a love story that captured the world's attention. Their next steps are forward, but forever marked by a connection that, despite its ending, will never be forgotten. So what do you think? Was the prenup a genius move, or a sign the marriage was doomed from the start? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.